Well, the Public Protector's powers to investigate former President Jacob Zuma's tax information might be limited. The South African Revenue Service, or SARS, has launched an urgent court application yesterday to prohibit Public Protector Busiswe Mkwebane from obtaining Zuma's tax information. Mkhwebane is opposing the court action and says she is going ahead with her investigation. But the Democratic Alliance laid a complaint with the Public Protector, alleging Zuma failed to declare to SARS millions of rands he'd received from a security company in the past. Morning Live extended an invitation to SARS to discuss the matter, but they declined, saying such information is confidential and no one has a right to access another's tax information. So let's get a little bit of analysis on this, and to talk more, we've got political analyst Levy Ndou. He's in studio with us. So nice to see you. Welcome to Morning Live again.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about this now. In your view, do you think that it is odd for SARS to launch this urgent application to limit access to an institute such as the Public Protector to seek to improve democracy?
For me, it's not odd because they are having reasons, they are advancing reasons why. They talk about the violation of the Tax Administrative Act, which is something that they feel should not be violated. But also at the same time, you have a situation where the Public Protector has to perform her responsibilities based on the Constitution. But also, you have a complaint that has been lodged with the Public Protector. And those that have lodged a complaint would expect the Public Protector to go out, investigate, find out whether there is something wrong that has happened, make recommendations, and then the matter is laid to rest.
Yeah.
And what we see now is a situation where different institutions that have been created by government in order to strengthen our democracy are now at loggerheads. And the other institution is preventing the other from executing its responsibilities.
Which for me is very, very worrying, because, you would think logically that if the Public Protector is mandated to protect and act in the interest of justice, an institution like SARS would work with the Public Protector's office and not against. What is your understanding? Why are they against each other?
The expectation would be that SARS would actually have volunteered to provide information to the Public Protector. Why? Because issues of corruption and issues that relates to maladministration are issues that each institution of government has to prioritize and deal with. But also at the same time, what message are you trying to send to the public out there? When there is an information that says that the former president has received a certain amount of money, it has not been declared, and also at the same time it's a violation of the executive code. What then do you do as the Public Protector? And my view is that I would have expected, or I expect, different state organs to assist each other in order to ensure that our own democracy is indeed strengthened. But the surprise by SARS really, for me, I actually expected them to cooperate with the Public Protector and also ensure that because you're an institution of government, let's make sure that there's some confidential information should actually not go to the public in order to protect the Tax Administrative Act.
So when we look at Kisvata, and let's look at what's happening in the High Court. So they approached the High Court in Pretoria to stop the implementation of the subpoena and to order that SARS officials should be allowed to withhold tax information from the Office of the Public Protector. This is what we're talking to right now. He wants the High Court to rule that the Public Protector's subpoena powers do not extend to tax power or taxpayers' information. And he wants Mkhwebane to pay 15% of the legal cost, which could result from her choosing to oppose the interdict. This is, I'm trying to make sense of it, and yet I can't, because, as we say, they should be working together, but they are now going to every length to protect this information, whereas it should be used in this investigation. Is there something that we're missing here?
I think for me, they're actually taking the matter far much further because they're also going to an extent of ensuring that part of the portion of the money should also be paid by the Public Protector. But the biggest question for me would be, what is in the interest of our democracy and South Africa as a nation? And I think what is in the best interest of all of us is to ensure that there is accountability, that there is transparency, and there is openness. And I expect SARS to actually look into this matter in that context. Those are the fundamental values of our own constitution. And we all aware that there are some informations that are quite confidential. But what do you do when some people are saying that money has been paid to a former state president, there has not been a declaration, there are tax violations? Do you then say, on the basis of our act, we're not going to provide a credible institution to make an investigation on something that is in the interest of everybody and which is actually supposed to strengthen the existence of our own democracy? And I think that's one area that, for me, the officials at SARS have to look at and say, there are certain things that have to be done in the best interest of South Africa.
Obviously, we've asked SARS to come. As I explained, they said that they can't come in and discuss this. It's before court. But to numerous publications, they've spoken to them and said that it may appear as if they're protecting Zuma, but that's not the case. They are merely following the Tax Administration Act that binds them to confidentiality on any taxpayer's affairs. Is it as simple as that?
It should be as simple as that because it suits SARS now. But if you look at the role of the public protector and the confidence that everybody is supposed to have on the public protector, I want to repeat, I would have expected SARS to cooperate with the public protector. Now, here's the big question. Is SARS actually saying that what you can do whatever investigations you want to do, but when it comes to certain information, whether there is money paid to the former president, whether there was declaration, and all the issues surrounding this matter, you are not going to get any single information. Continue doing your work, but when it comes to this level, you are not going to we're not going to provide information. Mind you, we have the Sandow Commission running now. We have got a serious problem of corruption generally in South Africa. And the statement by SARS that says the perception that seek to suggest that we only protecting President Zuma, for me, it's a statement that is quite unnecessary. I expected them to say, we have a situation as a credible institution that is created to collect funds for South Africa. We are also open and transparent. There are certain issues that are in the interest of the public, and we're actually prepared to provide information to the institutions that are there created to strengthen our own democracy.
So let's take the initial rumors of what was going on with this illegal money, because this is at the heart of all of it. It came out in Jacques Pauwels, the president's keeper, and he spoke to this, where the security company had paid Zuma millions from the security company. SARS at the time had said that they would launch an investigation into this. They would look into it. They threatened legal action. This court application now, what has SARS actually done against these allegations that he received this illegal money? It doesn't seem that they have done anything, and now they're preventing the public protector. So from SARS' side, do you know anything, if they've done anything to look into these funds?
There is nothing available at the moment, but for me, I would have expected SARS to say, when this issue started to come up, they should have said, we are launching an investigation, and they should have voluntarily also come out to say, based on the investigations that we've made, these are the findings that we actually got. What is more surprising is that why would they, instead of them providing this information voluntarily, why would they now protect another institution of government to get this kind of information? And what they do is to come with a statement that says, no, based on the Tax Administrative Act, we're not going to provide information. And they actually even go further to say, you also need to pay 15%, a portion of our court appearances. And for me, I think they're moving faster than expected. But South African institutions of government and everywhere else need to work together and cooperate in order to ensure that our democracy is actually strengthened. I don't expect a situation where instead of the public protector having to get information, the public protector has to fight in order to get information and then do a work. This matter has been reported to the public protector long time ago.
Yeah.
And the public protector cannot perform her responsibilities because another institution of government is saying, no, we can't provide this kind of information. Whether it's in the interest of the public or not, the information cannot be provided.
Could we possibly look to this being a bit of a personal battle between Mkhwebane and the public protector, purely because we've already seen them butt heads before? We've seen in the case of the SARS rogue unit, Mkhwebane said that's absolutely nonsense, nothing like that existed. We also heard from the public protector's office that there is an investigation, and the public protector has launched an investigation into Edward Mkhwebane's appointment as the SARS boss. So there already is bad blood happening there, as one can read into. I mean, we don't know it as a fact, but it certainly looks and appears that way.
The bad blood between the public protector and the SARS commissioner is actually known to all of us. And in my view, you need individuals who put personal issues aside when they have to execute public responsibilities. And that is why when you go through the story, there is always a reference to the differences that has existed between the two. And maybe the SARS commissioner or SARS is actually saying, this is our turn to punish you. You said the rogue unit is illegal, and we said we didn't find anything illegal. Now you want information from us? Yes, we have the Tax Administrative Act, and we're going to use this act to ensure that you don't perform your responsibilities. And that's why I said initially that I actually expected SARS to come out in the open, because they actually promised an investigation. Yeah. They should have come to the open and say, based on what has been reported, this is what we have actually found out.
Indeed, and we'll assist you in this.
Maybe another reason would be if they don't come out and explain their investigations, there might be something that they're actually hiding. Yeah. We don't know. Yeah. They're the ones that must actually provide this information.
And this, of course, creates all of these conclusions that many may jump to in their head, which may be very incorrect, but if they don't go with it, this is what people will look at. Just in terms of the legality on this, what's the likelihood that the court will actually rule in SARS's favor?
It might be quite difficult for the courts to decide. It will need people with good legal minds. But I think for me, what the Constitution says in South Africa, the fundamentals, values of our Constitution, talk about openness, they talk about transparency, they talk about accountability. And all citizens in South Africa have actually agreed amongst themselves that corruption and maladministration are very serious problems that we face in South Africa, and the public protector is actually created to deal with that. And I think in the best interest of South Africa, one would expect the courts to say, give information to the public protector, because that is in the interest of the entire nation.
Very quickly, while I've got you here, just on a final closing note, the Sandow Commission as well. We saw the DA coming through yesterday saying that the Commission must subpoena Zuma to appear before it, and also Zuma then saying that he was not feeling well, he was admitted to hospital, but Zondo actually saying that they need a proof of illness certificate or a letter or something from the former President Jacob Zuma for not appearing. Talk to me, what do you think is going on there?
Yes, what created a lot of suspicions is when the announcement is made a week in advance that next week I'll not be available and I'll actually be sick. But it's a normal practice. If you can't make it to work, you need to produce a medical certificate to say I couldn't be able to come to work. But I think in the interest of the Commission and in the interest of the whole nation, we still need more information that was to come from President Zuma. And I hope his legal team and himself would actually come to the party and say, as a former leader of South Africa, I need to show true citizenship and provide whatever information is needed by the Sandow Commission so that the Commission become a complete success.
Do you think that they will subpoena him? I mean, they hinted towards that.
You remember there were times in which there was a tussle whether he should come or not come to the commission.
Indeed.
And Judge Zondo was very much harsh to say, you are actually going to come to the commission because most of the things are actually centered around you as an individual. And I think we need the legal team of former President Zuma to say, let's go and provide whatever information that is needed. And if we have to face the music, then have to face the music.
All right, let's leave it there. Levy, thanks so much for talking to us here on the program. And talking to SARS and the Public Protector's Office, as well as former President Jacob Zuma and the Sandow Commission. So one thing is true, there's never anything that's boring about South African politics. There's always something to talk about. Levy, thanks again for being with us. And we're going to take a break. When we return, we'll take a look at the front pages of the newspapers. We'll also bring you your news at